Dad works midnights. He has acknowledged that. The overnight that he has in the middle of the week, his girlfriend is with the minor child.
Her mom works days, and when she leaves to go to work, she'll either leave Madeline at home with her boyfriend or she'll take her to her grandma's house. I get text messages every day that's different on where to pick Madeline up from. So there is no consistency anyway. She's bouncing back and forth between her own house with her boyfriend, or she's taking her to her grandma's house.
For the record, this matter is before the court. Any defendant's objections to a referee recommended order denying his motion to modify parenting time. This hearing is being conducted via Zoom. Parties have conferred with Mr. Pratt for the front of the court. Strike that. It appears that both parties are present. Plaintiff mother Megan Brooks and represented by attorney Christina Hills, and the defendant father Anthony Balestri is also present. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Mr. Pratt for the front of the court this morning is recommending that referee recommended order be adopted. Namely that there's sufficiently not sufficient circumstances in which to modify parenting time, Mr. Balestri. Mr. Balestri, do you understand the recommendation this morning?
Yes, sir.
Any objection to the court adopting this recommendation?
Yes.
Okay. Well, we'll hear from Ms. Hills, and then I'll come back to you. Ms. Hills, what's your client's position on this recommendation?
Your Honor, my client's position is that the recommendation should be adopted and become an order of the court. Dad has parenting time every Wednesday overnight, plus alternating weekends from Friday through Monday. That is substantial parenting time. He also has the friend of the court holiday schedule. Our position is that he has not alleged a sufficient change of circumstances under Shade versus Wright to modify parenting time. Simply objecting and saying I deserve 50-50 parenting time is not a sufficient basis for an objection to the referee recommendation. Dad works midnights. He has acknowledged that. The overnight that he has in the middle of the week, his girlfriend is with the minor child. The only additional parenting time that he could have, since the parties already alternate weekends, would be during the week when he's working midnights and the child would again be left in the care of the third party, the girlfriend. My client is available to the child on an overnight basis. So that's another reason why parenting time should not be modified at this point. This child is doing very well in school. She got straight A's. Both parties acknowledge that. She's in extracurricular activities. She's thriving under the current schedule, and there's really no need to rock the boat from that standpoint either. So we are asking that the court adopt the recommendation and maintain the current parenting time schedule.
Thank you, Ms. Hills. That's wonderful. The court is pleased here that Madeline is doing so well. Obviously, the two of you as parents are doing something right. She's obviously thriving in school and engaged extracurriculars, good grades. You got to be extremely proud of that. But Mr. Balestri, I just warn you, you should not discuss parenting time with your daughter. That is a major no-no. I mean, this is between parents and the court. And if the two of you as parents cannot agree, then the court will decide. But these things are not things you should discuss with your daughter. That just creates anxiety on the part of your daughter. That does not reflect well on you as a parent. You should not be discussing parenting time with your daughter and saying, obviously you can say things like, obviously Dad, I enjoyed every minute we can spend time together, but you shouldn't be putting it on her in terms of going out to her mother to get more parenting time. So at this point in time, the court believes that the current schedule is appropriate. Now, what about, you can talk about summer parenting time. The court sees no reason why you couldn't do week on, week off during the summertime. Obviously, there's got to be more of a stricter schedule during the year.
I also
premature to discuss next summer, Mr. Balestri, with the court would suggest maybe at in the spring to file a petition to modify summer parenting time, or maybe Ms. Brooks can agree upon it in the interim. Go ahead, Mr. Balestri.
I no longer work Mondays, so I mean Monday night would be good too, because I work for Ford and they changed my work schedule. I no longer work Monday through Friday. I work Tuesday to Friday.
Your Honor, if the court were to consider extending parenting time to include Monday overnight, that would mean Monday overnight with Dad, Tuesday overnight with Mom, Wednesday overnight with Dad. This child would just be ping-ponged back and forth. We certainly will talk about the issue of summer parenting time if that's raised down the road.
Mr. Balestri, it's a legitimate concern. We don't want Madeline to be bouncing back and forth. It's a lot, especially during the school year. The child needs consistency.
I understand that, but she doesn't even have consistency when she's at her mom's, because when her mom works days, okay? And when she leaves to go to work, she'll either leave Madeline at home with her boyfriend, or she'll take her to her grandma's house. So she's already bouncing back and forth when she stays at her mom. There's no consistency of where she's staying when she goes to work at her mom's, because I get text messages every day that's different on where to pick Madeline up from. So there is no consistency anyway. She's bouncing back and forth between her own house with her boyfriend, or she's taking her to her grandma's house. And I have to get a text message every day of where to pick her up. It's not consistent. And I have text messages in my phone to show those.
Ms. Hills?
Your Honor, my
And does
client,
Ms. Brooks have any response?
childcare while she's working, and she does what she can with regard to the childcare. Ms. Brooks, did you have something you wanted to add?
So yes, when it comes to bouncing back and forth, as he's stating, she does stay at home sometimes. And this is only during the summer, because she goes to school during the school year. Obviously, she's not going into childcare. But during the summer, she will either stay at home if my fiance is off work, or she will go to my mother's house where my sister lives, and she is with my sister and her cousins that are her age as well, throughout the day while I'm at work. It's just a child care or like a babysitter in the interim. It's not an overnight thing.
Very well, Mr. Blustry, the court understands your concerns and your position, but the court, however, at this time will adopt the referee recommended order that that parenting time not be modified at this time. But again, there's no reason why we can't talk about summer parenting time. So the court suggests in the spring, if you and Ms. Brooks don't have some agreement about, perhaps no reason why we couldn't do a week on, week off during the summer. It's much more flexibility during the summer months when school's out, looking at your work schedule and her work schedule. File that motion in the spring. At this point in time, the court will adopt the recommendation.
Your Honor, is the court adopting the recommendation in its totality? There was a recommendation for counseling for the minor child to begin with, a counselor named Brenda Paulicki, who had been agreed upon, I thought, at the referee hearing, but then subsequently Mr. Balestri objected to counseling starting with that counselor. So we would ask the court to adopt the rec in its entirety.
I don't agree with that.
Recommendation of Mr. Pratt this morning. Mr. Balestri, why are you opposed to Dr. Paulicki counseling your daughter?
Because her and Ms. Brooks are good friends and stuff, and I don't want that to alter the decision or how my daughter talks and acts. And last time we did some his name was Glenn, Mr. Glenn, I remember. It was by the court, and neither me or Ms. Brooks knew who he was. And Madeline did very well. And there was no outer influence. So I would feel more comfortable if it was with a counselor that me nor her knew, because that her and that counselor that they recommended it, they're friends and they talk and all this other stuff. So I just would feel like it would be a more genuine outcome if it was a counselor that me nor her knew. And yeah, I just feel like it would be a more genuine outcome and there would be no outer influence.
All right, Dr. Paulicki is with New Beginnings Mercy House. Ms. Hills, does your client have a personal relationship with Dr. Paulicki?
I understood that she had counseled the child in the past, if my client's saying no, so I'll let her answer.
She never counseled Madeline. Brenda and I served on the board of New Beginnings Mercy House together.
So they had a relationship. That's why I don't want no outside influence.
Well, serving on a board together certainly doesn't equate to a personal relationship.
Well, it can be influenced to her because they have seen and been around each other before. So I would just feel more comfortable with a counselor that me nor her knew, and there would be no excuse for anything.
Well, if you want to find a counselor that will take the insurance that your daughter's covered by.
She's under my insurance.
All right, so all right, no, that's a valid point. Obviously, if they serve on the board together, they have a relationship, and she may, Dr. Paulicki may, she's a professional, may share more information with mom than she does with dad. So the court will order counseling, but court will order that counseling to be conducted by a mutually agreeable counselor. Do you think you can discuss and agree upon one?
Yes.
Again, if it has to be an agency other than New Beginnings Mercy House, front of the court, I'm sure has a list of counselors. Ms. Sills, I'm sure can also provide some recommendations. So the court will adopt the recommendation of the referee with the exception of the, and thank you for pointing that out, Ms. Sills. I did not note that in the recommended order that counseling be continued with Dr. Paulicki. So the court will adopt and modify the counseling for the child shall be performed by a mutually agreeable counselor.
Thank you, Judge.
So with that, Mr. Bradford, you just add that to the recommendation, just add that one provision. That's the one modification of the order. Otherwise, the order is adopted. Continue to work together, Mrs. Brooks and Mr. Blustry, for the welfare of your daughter. She's doing well, and you want to continue that. And be careful. Don't involve your daughter in some of these adult decisions, Mr. Blustry, please.
Okay, I understand, but when my daughter comes in my room and asks me to have a talk with me, I'm not, Judge, I'm not going out of my way to talk bad about her mom or say, oh, I deserve to take you. I'm not trying to take her away from her mother, and she understands that. She gets upset because there's been occasions where she said she was over here for 4th of July. And she was having a really good time with me. I was off for work. I had a week off of work. And she was having a really good time with me. And she said, Dad, I really don't want to go home. I want to stay here the night with you again. I said, okay, well, that's not for me to decide. I can't just keep you because your mom's supposed to take you back. You have to call her and ask her. And when she called and asked if she can stay with me another night, Megan said absolutely not, and told her no. And when she got off the phone, she locked herself in her room and cried until her mom came and picked her up. So I mean, there's got to be some kind of leeway where if she would like to stay, she can't just tell her no every time. Just like if she wanted to stay longer with Megan, I would not say no. There's not been a time where she asked if she can stay longer with her that I say no.
Can I
So
add to that?
There's got to be a mutual thing for that.
Hold on. Your Honor, Mr. Blustry should have called my client instead of putting the child squarely in the middle of the situation and thereby putting pressure and giving the child anxiety regarding that issue. At some point, hopefully the parties can reach a point where they can have those sorts of conversations and vary from the court order. I don't think we're quite there yet, but certainly I will encourage my client to work on that. But the child should not be made a messenger between.
She's not a messenger. She asked to call her mom if she can stay the night. How am I? Why does that? I mean, why do I have to be involved in that?
Mr. Blustry, because she's a child, she's a minor. So yes, you're the one that should you say, well, check with your mom. That's what she responds, and you call Miss Brooks to discuss that rather than put that child in the middle to work through that. It creates anxiety for the child. So
Yes,
with that observation, that will conclude this hearing, and we will please work together, get agree upon a counsel as soon as possible, so that can continue for Madeline.
Yes, sir.
All right, that will conclude this hearing. You can both zoom out.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Welcome.